Okay, let's get started. You guys are getting very good at joining these Zoom meetings. Unfortunately, I can't see you all today, but I did scroll through the people that are logging on, and I saw a lot of familiar names and I hope friendly faces. So you guys smile behind your camera there just so that I can feel the warm UVA love. So if you don't know me, my name is Everett Fortner. I am the Associate Vice President of Career and Professional Development here at UVA, the UVA Career Center. Maybe perhaps some of your parents or guardians tuned in last night. We had over 1,000 people attend the webinar last night and passed on some good information, but the information is actually more important for you. I did put on a tie last night for your parents, but I'm hoping you guys can also indulge me in just at least wearing my UVA sportswear. So we're going to throw a lot at you quickly. I want you to know that we're going to hang around after the 30 minutes and answer as many questions as you want us to answer, as long as you guys want to hang around. But we will also answer any questions we don't get to today. We'll send you an individual answer back. Use the Q&A function on Zoom today instead of the normal chat to put your questions in so that it catalogs them for me to be able to cover them for you toward the end. In addition to myself, I have a number of my colleagues here that are going to also chime in, cover part of the material, and they'll also be here to answer questions. So let's get going. First of all, I want to thank you guys for being here, all of you. I want to thank the class councils for helping promote this. You guys have been partners all year, and we appreciate you partnering again today to help as many students know about this. Also want to point out that at 4 p.m. today, the first year class council is sponsoring a first year resume event. So be ready to, you can't hang around for that. You'll have to jump on another Zoom, but look for that at 4 o'clock. So here are your presenters today. We'll introduce them as they come up. So I'm just going to cover some of the basics. You may be watching the news. Try not to watch it too much. The economic news, as you know, is not exactly positive. Jobless claims hit a new record. There were 10 million jobs lost in the last 2 weeks. And compared to the recession in 2008, which many of you were around, but pretty young then, there were 9 million jobs lost in the entire year. So yes, this is dire. This is it's happened quickly to us. Something else that besides just unemployment that you should be looking at is underemployment, because this may be a question you have if you're a fourth year particularly. Underemployment is people taking jobs for which they are overqualified, basically, and that number has ticked up in the last 2 weeks as well. Employers are changing their plans. 15% have said they've put a hiring freeze on. 42% more are saying that they are jobs are pending. So to me, that's like a hiring freeze. It's nearly 70%. Good news: 25% have moved jobs remote or virtual. 18 are still actively hiring. We've been surveying, these are your employers. These are the employers that come to UVA and work with us. We've surveyed them in the last couple of weeks. You guys have also filled out a survey for us as well. First, second, and third years, filling out the internship survey, and fourth years, now the first destination survey. 75% of you have reported that there's been a change to your summer plans. Obviously, study abroad. But a lot of internships have changed. Maybe some have gone virtual, many have been canceled. Our mission remains the same. We are focused on helping engage and support you in your discovery and pursuit of meaningful lives. For us, it's broader than just this first job. Different kinds of research will say that you are going to have between 12 and 20 jobs before you retire 40 or 50 years from now. I know this first job is important, but it's not make or break. It's a chance for you to get some experience. Certainly this internship this summer that may be falling apart before your very eyes is not make or break. We're going to give you some strategies that will still help prepare you and make you look good in employers' eyes for next year. Our approach has changed. We've changed broadly in 3 ways. One, we're going virtual. We've been virtual now for 42 days, I think, with virtual appointments that you can make on Handshake. That's going to be the #1 strategy we're going to recommend to you today, is make an appointment with us on Handshake. We've been doing weekly industry newsletters for a couple of years. We introduced to you about 6 months ago VMOC, which is an artificial intelligence resume tool for you to have your resume graded and get suggestions to make it better right there at home. We have a virtual career assessment called Pathway U that many of you have taken. And if you haven't, we'll talk about how you might want to take it in the coming weeks. We've always had virtual mock interviews. We now have online mock interviews with career counselors if you want. And we're also going to talk to you about some virtual project and skill development things that you can take advantage of over the next few weeks and this summer. So our first strategy in adapting to this COVID-19 has been being virtual. The second is being more proactive. Now, many of you filling out the survey ask us to reach out to you. Over 400 of you actually asked that. And so I think by the end of today, you should have been reached out to by us. We want to engage with you. We're also reaching out to as many student groups as we can, trying to help any individual group that has any particular different kinds of needs. International students, first-generation students, any student that we feel is even suffering from this move back home and loss of summer internship or loss of first job, even more, we're trying to reach out. But we want you to do the same. We want you to be proactive as well. We want you to reach out to us. Last thing is we're being focused, and we're going to take you through a number of things over the next 15 minutes that we think you should be taking advantage of. We're going to present this to you in sort of 4 scenarios of who you might be, but these are gross generalizations of the situation that you might be in. Almost #1 on each list of these action plans is for you to contact a career counselor, a virtual career counselor appointment through Handshake. All right, so now I'm going to turn to my colleagues to start going through some of these action plans. First up is David Lipinski, our Director of Employer Relations.
Everett, thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody for joining the call today. We definitely miss having you on grounds, and we miss being there ourselves. As Everett was mentioning, this is really kind of aimed at the first part of our action plan, is looking at if you're a 4th year. There's going to be scenarios where you're just starting your search and you're wondering where to go, or you had a job offer and it was unfortunately retracted. You know, what are the things that you need to be doing to really, get into your search? And as Everett mentioned, the first one is, reach out to us to schedule an appointment, with one of our counselors. Also, actually the first one is, look at, the Q&A, the frequently asked questions that we've set up online. We have some phenomenal resources. Our team spent a lot of time setting these up. So if you're having questions about how to communicate with the employers, we've actually have a sample letters up there. We've got some frequently asked questions that will help out. Additionally, the next one is set up a virtual appointment. We have a phenomenal counseling team. They're here to help you. They want to help walk you through the process. But this action plan will really help you manage your search, from start to finish. And the counselors can help walk you through that. The next part is use some of our online tools to get in shape. One of the things that I recommend is look at that ideal job description that you've been planning for, and then look at your resume. You do what's called a gap assessment, and you understand where the gaps are and the skills that you need to help you get from A to B. We have opportunity to use a lot of online courses to help you fine-tune your resume, but also to help you grow skills that you need. Those are available through Coursera and a number of different resources that Everett referenced on the first slide. The next thing is to attend relevant upcoming events. We have some things scheduled in the near future. Next week, we have an alumni panel about your job search. We also have a couple of sessions focused on building your career network. One of the most important things you can do at this time is to build relationships and build your network. And then also focus on numerous industry-specific programs that we have scheduled. We're partnering with our companies to bring these to you. They're listed in Handshake. Many of them are offered to a wide variety of institutions, not just UVA, but still take advantage of those to learn about the different industries. And then the next slide. Okay, and then if you're in your internship search, so you could be in a situation where your internship was canceled, or you were just starting your search now and things are, you're wondering what to do. Well, look back to the first slide. That action plan is going to really help you manage. It all starts with that first appointment with the counselor and looking at those frequently asked questions. The next thing we have to offer that Everett referenced were some skill development and experience development courses that we have. So we've partnered with Coursera. We have access to more than 3,800 online courses across a lot of different areas that we want to introduce you to. Those are available through what's called Coursera for Partners on our website. So take advantage of those to really kind of grow your skills and learn more about yourself. We also have, and we're in the process of planning this, it's called our Career Accelerator Project-Based Learning Program. This is a 10-week program that will immerse you into live, real-world projects where you'll work together with other students on teams. You'll be teamed up with project mentors from firms like Accenture, McKinsey, and others, and they'll work with you on these cases. And you'll have a chance to present and get feedback from real live company partners. So look into that. And the other one is a 6-credit class that's being launched by the College of Arts and Sciences that includes skill development and a couple of courses that you can take this summer. All of these are designed to help you go through what's called skill-based exploration so you can learn more about yourself and also grow at the same time. So take advantage of these.
David, fantastic. Thank you. Another scenario is you may still be in the exploration phase. The quote here, I want to work on career exploration while social distancing. So my colleague, Carrie Rudder, is our Director of Exploration. Let her talk through these items.
Hi, students. It's so wonderful to be with you. I wish I could see you. And I hope I'll be able to see you as you make appointments with me and other career counselors. I think on every single slide, we have indicated that we hope that you will make an appointment with a career counselor. I think during this time, getting personalized attention and coming up with unique strategies to get experience and to connect with employers and to get specific information and support around graduate school is going to be really, really helpful to you and give you some action steps that will make you successful in reaching your goals. We have a new program that we're launching called Design Your Life. And of course, we've added, especially during this time with COVID-19, there are 2-day workshops that we're hosting on May 12th and 13th and May 21st and 22nd. And I cannot say enough about the students' reactions about being a part of those workshops. They work together, they brainstorm. It is hard to know what you want to go after if you don't take a time to really find out what's important to you, what your values are, and then we can help you come up with a plan to achieve those goals. And when you set aside time to attend the Design Your Life boot camps is what we call them, or groups. We have several career counselors who are just devoted in 3 to 4 hour chunks to helping you discover who you are and give you a lot of encouragement and specific strategies to be successful. So let me really push that. Online tools, Pathways U has been mentioned several times. That will give you quick check-ins to see more about your values, interests, and skills, match you up with certain occupations, and it actually maps to Handshake and Indeed in terms of discovering what jobs are out there and internships, which ones are remote. David has mentioned quite a bit about ways to get experience. You're going to want to be creative while you're waiting for that internship or summer job. And so some of these project-based offerings, virtual meetups, connecting with alumni, this is exactly what you should be doing. And employers are going to, it's not so much that you had this super internship that was paid. It's about what skills and being able to articulate how you are ready to make a difference at their organization. And getting these different Coursera skills and certificates along with this project-based learning and personal attention from professors, you're going to be amazing. And you're going to be able to talk creatively about how you utilized this summer to get ready to make a difference. And then you're going to write some amazing follow-up notes that are going to make you shine and stand out. So I'm going to be quiet now because I could go on forever about how much I believe in your ability to be successful.
Awesome, Carrie, thank you. Another situation that a lot of you are asking about, there's a couple of questions in the Q&A already, are about grad school. So our Director of Career Communities and Pre-Health and Law Advising, Kim Sarowine, will take us through some actions for those considering grad school.
I remember to unmute, I will. So yes, it looks like some of my notes actually ended up on this slide, so you'll see what I'm going to say, but some of the biggest issues that you all are currently experiencing or thinking about, if you're thinking about graduate school, medical school, law school, other health professions, is the credit, no credit. Do I do that? Do I get a grade? Also thinking about any delays in your entrance exam, whether that's the GRE, LSAT, or MCAT. The MCAT has been delayed. There's been multiple cancellations, but they expect to be bringing up more MCATs online. I'm sorry, not online, but they will be bringing them back when they are able. So that's still to be determined. LSAT has created something called the LSAT Flex, which is for anyone who was already registered for the LSAT, who had it canceled, where those folks are going to be able to do the LSAT Flex from home. It's a little bit different from the LSAT. Definitely look at the Law School Admissions Council information online for that. And there is, GRE has created a GRE from home where it is virtually proctored. So there are entrance exam opportunities that are upcoming, but every program is doing it a little bit different. In regard to the credit, no credit versus a grade, this is a very individualized decision, but almost all health professions, law schools, and graduate schools have indicated that they will not penalize anyone for going for credit, no credit. Like I said, almost all. And so please do feel free to meet with a pre-health or a pre-law advisor or a career counselor to talk about other graduate programs in regard to that decision about credit versus no credit. We recognize that there are fewer opportunities to gain experience in clinical law and other programs. Please do, anyone who's thinking about the health professions, check out our UVA pre-health blog. You can Google those phrases and get that information. We've written some information about how to get experiences, specifically in healthcare. There is, of course, a huge need, but also a need to social distance around health facilities. For law and for any other skill building for different graduate programs, all of the resources described in this presentation are going to be helpful experiences. As Carrie was saying, and David said before her, is getting, using this time to gain skills and to network and learn more about the fields that you're interested in going into. I noticed a question about research, and I have talked with a few folks who are involved in research. Depending on the type of research, some can be virtual, some cannot be virtual. And so all of those programs and those PIs are really wanting to get back into it when it is safe and appropriate to do so. And so it's important to keep in touch with the PIs or with other folks with research. But a lot of that is TBD right at the moment. But again, an advisor can talk you through that process of how to keep in touch. And finally, the timing of your application, whether you're thinking about a health profession and deciding, is it okay to apply in September versus May? We can help talk you through that decision. There's a lot more flexibility this year than in prior years to the timing of an application for health programs. But there's a lot of folks, whether it's health, law, or other graduate programs, that are deciding, is this the right year to apply? So these are all discussions that we can talk with you talk with a pre-law advisor, pre-health advisor, or career counselor, schedule that appointment via handshake as well. And then I'll just highlight the med school AMCAS application Q&A has been scheduled for May 20th. And there's some additional programming related to pre-health, pre-law, and all graduate school programs coming up. Just take a look at handshake for that. And I believe next up is Amanda Wills, who is the Vice President for Talent Acquisition for MasterCard and a UVA alum. So Amanda, thank you for joining us today.
Wonderful. Thank you for the introduction, Kim, and appreciate the opportunity to speak with the students today. I am, as Kim mentioned, I'm a UVA grad, a graduate of McIntyre School of Commerce, graduated in 2008, so I can absolutely relate and feel for students in kind of knowing what you all are going through, and had many similar situations to peers of mine and friends as we were graduating back in 2008. So thought it'd be helpful today to share kind of a little bit of an outlook from an employer perspective, as well as some sort of guidance and advice that I would give to students who are looking for careers in this really uncertain environment. I think the biggest thing, while certainly there are a lot of unknowns right now, companies are putting hiring on hold. There are, freezes, there's internships being canceled. Things will bounce back. There will be a lag. Likely, businesses are really uncertain right now as to what's happening. And because of the unprecedented nature of the situation, it's really hard to predict how long the financial and sort of longer term impacts will be. So I would imagine, MasterCard's certainly very conservative. I would imagine most companies are going to be pretty conservative with how they start to revamp hiring and kind of roll things back out. So, encourage patience. Things will come back. They came back in 2008. They'll come back again. But it will just, it may take some time. On the campus front, particularly, as many of you are experiencing, internships were kind of the first up for employers to really take a look at. Many have moved to shorter internships. MasterCard has shortened our program from 10 weeks to 4 weeks. We have moved ours completely virtual, which I know many companies have done as well. Some have shifted later into the summer or adjusted the dates. And of course, unfortunately, some have had to cancel their programs. A lot of this, really is, certainly there's a financial impact, but a lot of it is logistically driven as well. Companies right now are really just figuring out how to shift our own workforce to a virtual environment. How do we support current employees? All of that really has to come first before we can figure out how to hire, how to take on interns, how to take on campus hires in this, in this virtual setting. So like I said, it will come back. It just may take some time for companies and employers to figure out how to do many of these things in a new way. As far as campus hiring, I would expect that MasterCard will certainly be on grounds this fall, hiring for full-time positions. I know many of my peers in other companies are planning to do so as well. So I expect there will be opportunities. It just may look a little bit different in terms of the timeline. Companies may stretch and take a little bit longer to figure out their hiring needs. So if those of you, particularly those third years who will be fourth years in the fall, have some patience. Many of these opportunities may have historically been filled in September and October, but we may not see them really finalized until October, into winter break, maybe into the spring semester. And so with that, just sharing a couple of thoughts and advice. Really encourage students to be flexible. Interviewing, networking events, other hiring activities are migrating to virtual platforms. We're kind of all exploring this as well, and in many cases, students are giving us advice on how to do a lot of these things. But get creative in your job search. Think about different industries. Think about industries maybe that are less impacted by COVID. Think about your skill set and experience and how you might apply that in an unconventional way to a job or company you haven't previously considered. I would also encourage you to keep networking. Even if companies aren't hiring right now, employers are more than willing to help and support students We're all working from home. Many of us have more time on our hands because of hiring changes. So you may have more luck with informational interviews than you've ever had before. So I encourage you to don't be afraid to reach out. If you've got, set up your LinkedIn profile, reach out to someone maybe you don't have a direct connection to, but might have a link to, and just see where that takes you. I also encourage you to think creatively about, if your internship was canceled or you have, your study abroad program was canceled and you have more time on your hands this summer, encourage you to continue to engage in activities that will build your resume. As an employer, I absolutely expect this fall to see more untraditional experiences. So if you have an opportunity to volunteer, organize some kind of community effort, learn a new skill, teach yourself how to code, all of this really shows your drive and motivation. And then craft that story, right? Take the opportunity to write a cover letter and tell the employer what you were doing instead, or how you pivoted. Talk about what it felt like or how you reacted when your internship was canceled. All of that really tells your story as a potential employee, and is something that's really going to build that narrative. So don't be afraid to address the issue head on, and take credit for earning the internship, even if it was canceled. And it's absolutely something that employers will expect to see, along with the credit, no credit. I would imagine GPA is going to be viewed a little bit differently by employers this year. So don't be afraid to address that in a cover letter or in an email to an employer, and kind of talk about your situation, as we're all navigating this a little bit differently. So happy to stay on at the end for questions, but wanted to share that employer perspective.
Amanda, thank you so much. You guys, thanks for hanging in there. We've got one more speaker. I'd like to maybe go one more slide, Kim. I'd like to introduce Tim Davis. Many of you may know Tim. He's an associate professor of leadership and public policy in the Batten School, and he's been the head of UVA's leadership and resilience. So Tim's got a few words to offer for you as well.
Thank you, Everett. Hi, guys. Hey, listen, we're talking a lot about the practicalities of everything that's been going on today. And Everett thought it was important, and I agree, to just take 5 minutes here and step back and also look at the emotional side of all this and how it's landing for everyone. I know I had an emotional moment this morning as I watched that video that was in UVA today about fourth years responding with grief and gratitude to what's gone on. Hard to not have a tear in your eye at the end of that video if you haven't seen it. And this is all having an impact on all of us. And long before this epidemic even happened, we knew that college students are struggling more emotionally, that emotional wellness is on the decline in your age group. And we're trying to understand what that's about and actually do something about it here at UVA. But certainly in this environment of uncertainty and loss, and we know that you are being tested more right now emotionally than perhaps any generation of college students in quite some time. So it's a good time to remember that emotional resilience is not something that's innate. It's not something that's God-given. It's not like eye color or height, because you don't have control over those traits. In good part, resilience, or what we think of as the emotional fortitude to get through life's challenges, is really an amalgamation of behaviors and choices over which you do have some control. So as you navigate this time of uncertainty, and particularly this career uncertainty, it can be heartening to remember that resilience competencies do not get developed when times are easy. That never happens. People, especially college students, learn how to cope effectively when they're challenged, when things are difficult. And in fact, we now know that all of us need a critical mass of pretty negative life events in order to develop strong mental health and resilience skills. It's a concept that I call optimal adversity. And that's why in the book that in the class that I'm teaching with Everett, we're reading a book called Forged in Crisis. It's not called Forged in Cushion or Forged in Calm. It's called Forged in Crisis. And each of the 5 leaders that we read about in that set of biographies became great because of the crises they finished, not in spite of the crises that they faced. They became great because of the crises that they faced. Now, in my classes, I usually always ask students to tell me how they're feeling or what they're noticing as they come into class in our Zoom sessions. And I thought it might be interesting to share with you much of what I'm hearing them as they electronically check in for class. I'm really hearing 2 clusters from all of you. One is kind of a check-in cluster that says I'm overwhelmed / worried / stressed. That's the first cluster. The second cluster is a cluster of check-ins that say I'm bored or tired or unmotivated. And when you look at those 2 clusters, it's not a pretty picture, right? It tells us that this is a really hard time. But what I want to say is that it also tells us that this is a time that is ripe for developing resilience skills. Because again, we only develop emotional resilience when times are hard, when we're using those clusters of adjectives to describe how we're doing. I also ask you and your colleagues when they come into our classes to tell me what you're doing to build your own resilience. And I thought it would be helpful to share with you the 5 things that Everett and I are hearing from all of you that are helping you to build your own resilience and cope with this time. So briefly, 1 is setting goals, personal goals, career goals, whether it's reading a book a week. So you have 13 books read outside of school that you wouldn't have had read before. That's a good example. Another might be networking with 20 different employers in each of 3 different industries you're considering. That would be a great vocational goal for this time. But setting goals appears to be very helpful during this time of uncertainty. Second, building structure into each day. Having a routine that helps you distinguish morning from afternoon from evening. When all those blur together, you're in trouble. Right? You got to be on the clock when you're working and off the clock when you're not working. Also distinguishing weekdays from weekends and having rituals set up so that you experience those time periods differently. Third is staying social. Even while you're social distancing, staying social, using social media to open the interpersonal connections that are important in your life. Fourth is exercising. That's one thing that we can do, right, safely during this time. And we know that the emotional benefits of regular exercise are off the chart. Fifth is practicing gratitude. That's something we talk a lot about in the resilient student class. A lot of our students keep gratitude journals. And what we know is that keeping a gratitude journal has been tested and shown in the psychological literature to be most predictive of happiness, of emotional well-being. So focus on your gratitude, even while there's a lot of things around to choose to focus on that might not feel so good. And lastly, remember when you do things and when you do these things and other things like them that promote your resilience, and you still feel really uncomfortable, that does not mean that you are not being resilient. That discomfort you continue to feel may actually be evidence that you are being resilient, because developing resilience requires discomfort. Discomfort is a precondition for developing emotional fortitude. No one ever built their resilience competence when things were smooth or easy. And so this can be a time of growth and maturation and development for you. This very uncomfortable time could help make you the person you hope to become. Think about that. But that's only going to happen if you're clear about your intentions to strengthen your resilience, and if you practice the skills that we know help us all to cope with this kind of adversity and uncertainty. So with that, I'll hand it back to Everett, and we'll continue with the rest of the program today.
All right, Tim, thank you. We've got one more slide here. Just one final thought I thought kind of summed up a little bit of what Tim was talking about from Clayton Christensen, a Harvard professor who passed away this year. A quote in the book that really struck me was, "I had thought the destination was what was important, but it turned out it was the journey." Folks, this journey is not the one you chose, right? But as Tim said, it's a journey where you're building resilience. And as Carrie said, you guys are talented. You are at UVA. You've got the UVA network. You've got a UVA alumni that are going to help you. It's not the journey that it's not the, you were thinking about a destination, but this journey is teaching you a lot, and and it's not a journey you're going to be on by yourself. So now we're going to end formally, but we're going to answer questions for a few minutes. And I'm going to just take a risk and throw out just one request. All professors are doing this in their Zoom classes. So if you heard anything that was helpful, would you commit to it right now and put it in the chat? So it could be as simple as, I'm going to go to Handshake and make an appointment with a career counselor, or I might go to the Career Center website. But while we're answering questions, just feel free to put an action that you're going to take in the chat box. So I'm going to move to questions and call on my colleagues to answer some of them. This question came in early. Before COVID-19, I had planned to go to graduate schools to engage with potential principal investigators and start making connections with departments I'm applying for. How can I still show my initiative to a graduate school without being overbearing during this difficult and unprecedented time? Kim, maybe you could take that one.
Sure. So I talked a little bit about this earlier, but thinking about research, number one, it would be really important to be in touch with the undergraduate research office to whether you're, I think that was a fourth year talking about their experience, but certainly if you're an underclass student, you would want to be in touch with the undergraduate research office, and it can't hurt to talk about research with a professional who advises for that purpose. For all years, fourth years included. But there may be some projects that are on pause right now. There may be some projects that are continuing virtually. And so asking that specifically when you're networking, when you are reaching out to researchers or research programs, what are the virtual opportunities? And if they are not available, or if the project you're interested in is not available virtually, it would be keeping in touch, maybe touching base once a month with that principal investigator until there are opportunities available, just to keep your information out there and keep connected.
Thank you, Kim. David, this next one's for you. How do you search for recruiters online and approach them for job opportunities in a professional manner?
Right, so that's a great question. It all depends on the industries that you're looking at. I think that's one of the first things. But one of the things that we always suggest is while we know that Handshake is a platform that has relationships with, we have relationships with greater than 45,000 employers. There's other channels. Those channels can be looking at the different geographies and regions that you're looking at. Within those groups, there's we have our economic development offices that make up a variety of states. So if you look at the Chamber of Commerce at all of your states, they all collaborate very closely with their economic development offices. And within those, they have industry lists of organizations that make up those communities. And it's a great way to start the process. Another avenue is to use LinkedIn and understand, not just LinkedIn to kind of network with individuals, but also to understand companies that are in various areas by industry. So it's a good way to start your search, to better understand the portfolio of companies by industry, and also the ones that have UVA alums. If they have UVA alums, they're great ones to start at and start your search, and then you can grow from there.
I also mentioned we have a session coming up. You'll see it on Handshake by Monday called Who's in Your Network, where it'll teach you how to go find alumni and recruiters at companies. So look for that, if you will. Amanda, maybe this next question you could handle. You mentioned underemployment. What should our strategy about this be? Will taking a position we are overqualified for affect our lifelong earnings trajectory?
That's a great question. And I think it really depends on your personal situation, what kind of opportunity you're comfortable taking. But certainly I can speak for my peers that we have bounced back. And the opportunities came. I can personally say that it has not, I don't think it's affected my sort of career trajectory. And I think, as an employer, certainly understand that students may be faced with different situations and need to take different opportunities at different times. So it really gets back to crafting your story and speaking to that narrative and the resiliency you build through this experience and how you're able to talk about that is going to impact your future opportunities and how you explain some of those decisions or career moves that you've made along the way. So I think the outlook is certainly positive.
Great, thank you. David, 2 Coursera questions. After my internship was canceled this summer, I decided to sign up for summer classes through UVA to get some requirements out of the way. Good strategy. I am also thinking about registering for a Coursera program. Do you think it is a good way to utilize my summer? And then related, will 4th years have access to Coursera after graduation?
Absolutely, another great question. Coursera courses are a great way to use your summer. As I mentioned before, if you can do that gap analysis, you understand what are some of the skills that you're currently lacking on your resume between the job description of what you're going for. You can search for those courses on the Coursera platform. But in addition to the Coursera courses, there's also some hands-on projects that are inside of Coursera that allow you to actually navigate the tool and actually apply the learning. So I would say take it a step further. There's one thing to actually do the online course, but look for some of these projects that are inside of Coursera. You can do that, or consider some of the project-based learning courses that we're offering through the Career Center. And then to answer the second part of the question, in regards to 4th years do have access. So as long as you have your virginia.edu email address, you'll be able to authenticate in and get access to the portfolio of courses that we have.
Great, thank you, David. Carrie, this question maybe you could handle. Hi, any ideas about finding NGO jobs or internships during this time?
Hi, back to you, and thank you for your great question. One of the first things that I would encourage you to do is connect with our public service and government career community. And what we have noticed is that government hiring and non-governmental organizations are sort of staying somewhat solid. And so I would connect with the public service and government career community. They actually next week have some Ask Me Anything programs, but they also, Lizzie Wall and Dreama Moncrief Johnson have appointments available in Handshake. And I would continue to look at resources such as idealist.org and use the Virginia Alumni Mentoring Network a lot. But I think I'll send you right to the experts, which will
Carrie, you cut out right there at the end. You were about to say Dreama Johnson or Lizzie Wall. So great. Okay, Kim, how does access to the Career Center's resources change with graduation?
Yes, so all 4th years who are graduating in May will have access to the UVA Career Center between now and December. So 6 months or a semester after graduation, you continue to have access to all of the resources that the Career Center has to offer. You also have access to the Alumni Career Office and Alumni Career Services, so you have multiple opportunities. But I also saw a question somewhere along the line about, are we career counselors available over the summer? Absolutely. And in the past, students haven't used the Career Center or talked with career advisors as much as we have capacity for. And so we're ready for you, and we look forward to talking with you throughout the summer, throughout your job search. If you want to test out that question about underemployment for your particular situation, we're happy to talk with you about that as well.
Great, thanks, Kim. David, can you tell me more detail about project-based learning and where can I find more information online?
Absolutely, a great, very timely question. Yes, we have a current description up on our Gain Skills and Experience page. It's on the Career Center website. We'll be rolling out a more formal registration page beginning on May the 4th. And what this is it's a 10-week program where we'll be, every 2 weeks, we'll be launching a new project as part of that program. These are real world projects that are coming from company startups, also nonprofits in the area that need support. The students will work on those, and you'll work alongside mentors and coaches that will be coming from some of our partner organizations. And then you'll be doing every 2 weeks, there's a presentation that you'll be doing as part of that program. And you'll be in front of company partners that will be judging, and there'll be cash prizes that will go out to the winning teams, as part of that. So it's very engaging, very, very interactive, and you get access to, company partners through that process. Additionally, we are supplementing that program with an 8-part course on management consulting skills that will be running parallel, that students can participate in and receive coaching along the way that will help them in the projects that they're going to be working on. So we really feel that this 10-week program as a whole is a great replacement for an internship experience that you may have lost, and you're looking for more exposure and experience.
And we will send out on Monday a list of links to all the programs that David just talked about. Tim, please, are there any good online resources to learn more about the 5 tips that you mentioned? I feel I struggle the most with creating structure in my day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, thanks for the question. Gosh, I wish I could say I could think of something to refer you to right out of the gate on structuring your day. I think I can't. What I can say specifically about it is that I'm glad that that's salient with you. If you can't feel the difference between your morning and your afternoon and your evening, you're probably starting to get a little depressed, right? And one of the things we know that we need when we lose structure like this is we need to build it back in. So what I would just say is treat your school life like a job. Have a time when you go to bed at night. I know college students hate to hear that, but have a bedtime. Have a get up in the morning time, right? Know when you're going to get up. I listened to my 13-year-old, same thing applies. He hit his snooze button this morning like 12 times. It was driving me crazy. You can't do that. Know what time you're going to get up, start your day, get on the clock, take a lunch break, get back on the clock, and end your day by 4. Okay? That's just really critical to your own mood management. I will recommend one really good book. This isn't going to surprise Everett or anybody else who is familiar with the Resilient Student course, but one of the best books you're going to read on resilience is very short, you'll be glad to know, but it's very dense. It's about 120 pages, and it's called Growth Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Read that book. Put it on your list this summer. It's the 120 pages that I think can make the biggest difference in a young person's life as much as anything I've probably ever read. And then take the class. You can tell us about growth mindset.
Yeah, if you're coming back next year, look for the class. Couple of rapid fire. Can 4th years access the project-based learning that you referred to, David?
Yes, we're going to have access for the 4th years as well.
And the second question I'll answer, can 4th years still use a career center after graduation? Absolutely, all the way through the end of the year. And you also have access to alumni career services starting at graduation. So a second resource for you to have. Amanda, maybe you could try this one. Can you offer insight into why employers would underemploy? Can you offer insight into why an employer would underemploy?
Yeah, so that's a really tough question. I think it really has to do with the applicant pool. And so as we see, more folks entering the job market, we've got opportunities to hire folks maybe who are overqualified for a particular role, sort of watering down that applicant pool. And so I think, from an employer perspective, we're looking for the best candidate for the role. And we may have, an opportunity to select someone who's got a lot of experience, maybe more than we might initially require, but ultimately then sort of, changes a little bit of the scope of the role or the function. It may also give us the opportunity to stretch an individual or combine roles if we're able to hire somebody for a particular job who's potentially overqualified, but they may be able to fill another need and sort of hit, 2 opportunities with one hire.
And I think a lot of companies underemploy because we apply for those jobs because we need to make money, and we're willing to apply for a job to which we are overqualified. And again, I think, as Amanda said before, it comes back to your personal situation of how long can you hold out before you take a job just because you need to make that money. So we would love to talk to you about those individual situations. Carrie, another tough question. Do you have any tips for students who also need to manage a sudden increase in responsibilities, family duties, additional jobs, on top of schoolwork and job searching? So particularly, I would like, hopefully, concrete tips like how to address this on a resume, and otherwise early on in the job search before interviews. General tips would be helpful too.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I answer this question in the best way possible without being able to talk with you and flesh out more specific information about your situation. I think this is happening to a lot of students as they have gone home. They have siblings, they have younger siblings. They may need to also be working because they are concerned about paying for some of these summer classes and things like that if they are actually able to. Your families may have expectations that they have of you when you're home that drive up all sorts of your, take away from a lot of your time. And it can be really overwhelming. Again, I think if you can think about some of the suggestions that Tim made about creating balance and structure and devoting little bits to schoolwork, to job search, to your personal responsibilities, creating some kind of structure. There's a fine line about how you communicate all that you are managing for your families as you write a cover letter and then hopefully get an interview. But you will have an opportunity, and I would say probably an interview is the best time to kind of craft that story. Tell me about a time when you handled multiple responsibilities at one time. You can certainly briefly mention it in a cover letter. I think you're going to find that you're going to be doing a lot of networking and be looking for almost the hidden internship and job market. And at that time, you can share with alumni all the different things that you are doing in a professional manner. And what they will hear is someone who is going to work extremely hard, who is passionate or committed to things that they dedicate their time to and willing to go above and beyond. And so they will recommend you for an opening that they hear about. And so that's what I would say. And again, I think just for tips about balancing all of these demands on your time, reach out to your student affairs contacts at the university. That is what residence life is good at. That is what the career counselors are good at. Tim Davis can certainly follow up. And hopefully that answers the question.
Carrie, that was great. Thank you. And that's an anonymous attendee who asked that question. So anonymous attendee, you can go onto Handshake and find Carrie Rudder and set up a virtual appointment with her. A question I can answer, can you speak more about the College Launchpad program? How many students will be able to access this? I don't actually know the number of students. You can find it, I believe, at launchpad.virginia.edu. But if not quite there, it'll be pretty prominent come Monday. They just announced it 2 days ago. It's 8 weeks in the middle of the summer, 6 credit hours, 2 3-week liberal arts courses with 2 2-week skill building workshops and a career week in the middle. So that's how it's structured. 6 total credits, tuition associated with 6 credits as well. Okay, let's see. How to get employers to hire you in a position fitting your qualifications? Related question, maybe I don't, there's something missing in that question that I can't put it all together. But another person asked a similar thing is, how do I compete with more experienced people? Given this COVID-19 times, I'm going to be competing with more experienced people. How do I compete against them? What will competing against them look like? How do I try to compete with people who have 2 to 3 years of professional full-time experience? David, you want to maybe take a shot at that?
Absolutely, yeah, I can. So I guess the second part of that question, really, how do you compete? This is going to be one of the things that you're going to face as students coming in, throughout your careers, in terms of but one of the things that you do bring is the skills that you bring, the drive that you bring. It's really always looking at it from just a differentiation perspective. How do you differentiate yourself? What are the things that you bring specifically to that role? Always look at it, and always, as you're always positioning yourself in a cover letter, or you're always positioning yourself in the interview, try to find a few salient points in terms of this is what you bring to that opportunity, and make you different, for that role. There are going to be cases, where you are going to be competing against individuals that have more experience, but there are reasons that they're looking at you coming out, of school for that role too, because you may be bringing different experiences than that individual that was currently in that role. I've heard situations right now in the market to where organizations are using this as an opportunity to do right sizing of their organization and then refill the organization with the incoming graduates that are coming out of school. That is one of the things that just happens at these times of years. And that often can play in favor of the new grad, coming in, to the workforce. So use that as an opportunity to your advantage. I hate to say that, but that is one of the things that's just a market condition that happens. It happened in 2001, it happened in 2008, and it's happening again at this point. It's going to happen again. Just as you, as a new grad coming out, as you're in your career for 15, 20 years, there's going to be another recession. There's going to be another downturn. There's going to be new grads coming out. So the one thing you always want to do is you always want to stay fresh in your skills, as you're growing as part of it. And Everett, I think there was another part to that question. I think you got it. Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to end with this question is a real positive one. Maybe I'm going to ask Amanda and Kim to give thoughts on this. What recommendations do you have for getting the most out of a virtual internship?
It's a great question, and one that we're addressing on a regular basis at work as we prepare for our virtual interns. And I really I would say the biggest thing is being proactive. A lot of the value of an internship comes from sort of the lunch line, water cooler opportunities, and those aren't going to exist. So it's really going to be on you as the intern to reach out. Don't feel like you're bothering people or pestering them if you want to set up time to chat. Keep in mind that your manager or your teams, they're balancing their own situation. You may have people who are working from home with children or balancing, caring for elders or different situations. So if you're not getting the hands-on or attention that you want or the support that you need, don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, I need help with this, or I have a question here. Don't spin your wheels waiting for them to reach out to you. Be proactive, network, take advantage. I think particularly in this environment, I would imagine that your team members are going to be really eager to support you and guide you and take advantage of that time.
Kim, want to add to that at all?
Yeah, excellent. I agree with everything that Amanda said, and I'm going to call back into mind the book that Tim mentioned, because I think that your attitude going into this can mean everything. And so going in with a real learning mindset that you're going to get everything you possibly can. You're going to talk to people when you're able and it's appropriate, and learn about when it's appropriate and that kind of thing. But also just go in with a can-do attitude, a creative mind, and get everything you can. Actively reflect on the skills that you're gaining during the internship, and you will have be able to, if you actively reflect on it, you're going to be able to convey that information in a resume and cover letter for future opportunities, and it's really going to set you up for next steps.
All right, thank you, fellow panelists, and thank you for the 100 of you who stayed in there with us. There's a few questions that we didn't get to answer, a couple in the chat also that we will respond back to you, or you can reach out to any of us and make an appointment just with one of us. We'd love to talk you through some of the things that we didn't quite get to today. It's going to be a productive summer for you. There's a lot of different ways you can take advantage of this summer, and we want to help you get into the right fit. So please take advantage of those workshops we talked about. I was super excited by the commitments that many of you put in the chat, so thanks for doing that. And I wish you the absolute best success this summer and after graduation, and know that we're here to help you. And have a great weekend.